Hi, everybody. I'm Maureen O'Boyle, and this is Extra.
100-mile-an-hour winds, torrential rains, entire communities underwater. We saw what George did to the south, but what if a hurricane hit the big city?
Without any question, it would have destroyed like a domino toppling blocks.
From D.C. to Manhattan, is the concrete jungle a destination for catastrophe? She went from basking in Olympic glory to living in fear. Shannon Miller, the victim of a stalker. Now the gymnast is bouncing back with big news.
It's a big day in my life.
Exclusive, Shannon spills her exciting secret. She was a respected teacher until she was charged with having sex with her 16-year-old student.
It was a dream. Having sex with a teacher, just something you couldn't believe.
He told it to the court. Then she did something shocking to stay out of jail.
I thought, well, if this will help clear my name, I will do it.
What she did and how the jury voted. Plus, how you can look like this without doing this. And sexy Stephanie Seymour reveals her best trait.
That's probably one of the nicest things about me. I think it's very human.
This is the weekend edition of Extra. Now, here's Maureen O'Boyle.
Thanks a lot for joining us. It sounds like something out of a movie. Skyscrapers toppling over like dominoes as a hurricane hits Manhattan. But experts say at one time that wasn't such a far-fetched premise. And some worry our nation's largest cities are catastrophes just waiting to happen. Les Trent has more on the implications of a hurricane in the concrete jungle.
Trees uprooted. Streets flooded. Reporters tossed around like rag dolls. Hurricane George just tore through the south, destroying property, swamping downtown Mobile, Alabama. But what if a killer cane was to rumble up the East Coast, taking aim at bigger cities, cities with tall buildings? Baltimore, Washington, New York.
If New York City got hit by a level 5 hurricane, there'd be total devastation.
Joe Whitty is a meteorologist with NBC4 in New York. He says chances of the most powerful hurricane, a level 5 ripping through Gotham, aren't high. But he says even a weaker hurricane could decimate the country's largest city.
A level 3 hurricane still can blow out a lot of windows and cause some significant roof damage to some of the buildings, and it'd be like flying shrapnel in the streets of New York City.
1938, a hurricane, in those days unnamed, tears through New York City, Long Island, and Connecticut, leaving cars impaled by trees, trains hurled off their tracks, roofs ripped off. Death toll, 600. Now, New York is even more dense, the buildings even taller, the danger even higher. It's happened before. Will it happen again?
Any wind, sustained wind above 70 miles an hour for 5 minutes or more, the building was at jeopardy of falling.
In 1978, reporter Jim Dwyer broke a sensational story. The 59-story Citicorp building was fatally flawed. Its structural design so weak, it might not survive winds below hurricane force. Those strike pretty often, once every 16 years.
If it had blown over, without any question, it would have destroyed, like a domino toppling blocks, 15, 18 blocks worth of other buildings, knocked them clear down.
As hurricane season approached, engineers raced to fix the 915-foot skyscraper in secret. All-night welding sessions. With time running out, they succeeded.
It's the greatest disaster that never happened.
Though a catastrophe was averted and building codes were tightened, we don't know if other skyscrapers hide similar flaws. But severe weather in America's biggest cities is always a threat. In May of last year, a tornado in Miami blasted through downtown with winds blowing up to 120 miles an hour.
Whoa.
And in Oklahoma City, another twister touched down, demolishing everything in its path. But it is the hurricane that devastates the broadest area and poses the greatest threat to coastal cities like New York. Be warned, it's not a matter of if, but when disaster will strike.
We can be hit, and probably sometime in the future, near, far term, we will be hit.
A Hollywood film company is developing a movie based on the premise of a hurricane hitting Manhattan. We came to know her as one of the Magnificent Seven at the 1996 Olympics. But after the glory, medal-winning gymnast Shannon Miller became the victim of a stalker. The law finally caught up with that obsessed fan, and now Shannon has some big news to share. Gina Silva with the Extra exclusive.
As of Sunday night, Chris has asked me to marry him. So we are going to get married in June.
Shannon Miller is getting married. The Olympic gold medalist and world champion introduced us to Chris Phillips, the man who proposed just a few days ago.
Put a fortune in Shannon's cookie that was, "Shannon, will you marry me?" And her parents were there at the same time, had no idea what was about to happen. And in their fortune cookie, I placed the fortune, "May I please have your daughter's hand in marriage?"
So now Shannon's added a diamond to her collection of gold, and she's begun planning a future with her young doctor-to-be. The 21-year-old gymnast is finishing up her degree in business and staying active in gymnastics. As for the wedding plans, the date is June 12th, and the wedding party is going to be huge. She has asked every one of her Magnificent Seven Olympic teammates to be bridesmaids.
You know, it's a big day in my life, and I'm glad that they're all going to be there to support me and everything.
It was her boyfriend Chris who supported Shannon throughout her traumatic stalking ordeal. 25-year-old Joseph Whitney Vogt moved from Fairfield, Connecticut to Norman, Oklahoma, incredibly into the apartment complex where Shannon lives. He even enrolled in one of her classes at the university. Once Shannon began dating Chris, Vogt's stalking turned violent. A jealous Vogt smashed his car into Chris's truck.
The first thing I thought was, well, this guy's gone. You know, he's not going to hang around and, you know, just wait for something else to happen. But instead, he was by my side the entire way.
Just last Friday, Vogt was convicted of misdemeanor stalking and fined $500. A soft-hearted Miller is happy with the trial's outcome.
We didn't want any jail time for him. We wanted him to get some counseling, and we also wanted it to go on his record.
On his record, because if Vogt is caught stalking a second time, he'll face felony charges.
We can only hope that he will not pursue to stalk Shannon any longer. Deep down inside, I really doubt that he will, and that's what matters to me.
And while Shannon has become more cautious, she says she won't hide from her fans.
And we can't really live in fear. You have to go on and just live a normal life.
And this bride-to-be plans to do just that.
Well, Shannon took off 4 months from gymnastics, but plans to start training again this week. She wants to take part in a tour that is tentatively scheduled for next spring. A policeman many hailed as a hero is paying a steep price for his bravery. Last year, Officer John Futrell found himself in the middle of a dangerous shootout. Confronted with a hail of bullets, he says he did what he was trained to do. He protected the public. But as Phil Schuman reports, the officer's actions are now costing him dearly. It's an extra update.
February 28, 1997, the chilling images shown live on national TV.
We've got a suspect with a machine gun.
All people in the area should get down.
Two bank robbers masked, covered in body armor, blasting away with automatic weapons at police outside the Bank of America branch in North Hollywood, California.
Shots are still being fired. The officer is down.
Police bystanders are wounded. Then the first gunman, Larry Phillips, hit by police fire, takes his own life. The second gunman, Emil Montesereno, is cornered behind his getaway car. In a blaze of gunfire, he's hit repeatedly. And as the SWAT team then moves off in search of other potential suspects, Officer John Futrell is assigned to watch over Montesereno. But before the ambulance arrives, he dies. He bleeds to death in the street.
I had a job to do. My job was to secure Montesereno. That's what I did. Okay.
For the first time, Officer Futrell is speaking out about what happened that day and the bizarre twist of events that have now left him without a job.
Since the North Hollywood shootout, it seems to me that the city, the police department, wants to distance themselves from me.
Futrell, along with a now retired officer, the LAPD and fire department, is now being sued by the family of Montesereno, the bank robber who died while Futrell stood over him.
What happened is that a bunch of cops collectively got together and decided that they were going to pass a death sentence on somebody who was a bad guy. And he was a bad
The Montesereno's attorney, Stephen Yagman, has called Futrell a cold-blooded murderer, alleging that he and other officers made an intentional decision to let him die.
All I was doing was a very professional job, just like any man or woman would have done the same thing.
Futrell's outraged by the lawsuit's allegations. He claims he did everything by the book. Ambulances were called, he says, but it was too dangerous to let paramedics into the so-called kill zone.
There was no way that an ambulance could come in. At any moment, I honestly thought that a suspect was going to come out with an automatic and spray all the officers that were out.
But if a jury does not believe Futrell, he could be held personally liable for punitive damages. His family could lose their savings. Futrell and his wife Diane were so concerned they hired their own attorney, in addition to the city attorney assigned to the case. Futrell says that decision made a lot of people angry.
The minute that I hired a private attorney, I was reprimanded by the city attorney's office. I was told, how dare you hire a private attorney to look over my shoulder? Don't you trust me? They started threatening me.
Futrell says that same day he was called into his boss's office and suspended on the grounds that he'd abandoned his post in an incident unrelated to the North Hollywood shootout.
I firmly believe this is a retaliation against me because I hired a private law firm to represent me.
What is the city afraid of? You don't have some smoking gun that you're hiding.
No. Phil, the whole thing has been a mystery to me. It's like dealing with the Twilight Zone.
Well, here at police headquarters, the LAPD says there has been no retaliation against John Futrell, insisting that any internal disciplinary matters are unrelated to the Mata Sereno lawsuit. And the assistant city attorney defending that case agrees, saying no one's turned their back on Futrell.
Whatever he's being relieved from duty for has nothing to do with the North Hollywood shootout.
Assistant City Attorney Don Vincent says he continues to represent Futrell and the others against the allegations in the lawsuit, and he says no one from his office has made any threats against Futrell.
You never said, see what happens when you hire your own attorney, referring to his suspension.
Absolutely not.
Whatever the case, John Futrell's police career is now over. Fed up, he has officially retired from the department. Forced out, he claims, because he needs to devote all of his time to defending himself against the Mata Sereno lawsuit.
So why retire? Why not fight to try to clear your name?
I felt the only way that I could focus on this case was to retire, so I was forced into retirement.
Well, the department might say you're not forced into retirement, you chose to retire.
They could probably say that. They could say a lot of things.
Are you angry?
Yes, I am. I'm very angry. And it seems like now when I need my department more than ever, my department has turned their back on me.
Officer Futrell will receive a pension and benefits. No date has been set yet for the lawsuit to go to trial.
He was 16. She was his 41-year-old teacher, charged with the ultimate taboo.
She had told me that if I had sex with her, she'd give me A.
The jury heard his tawdry tale, but they were in for something even more shocking.
It was a hard decision because I knew it would be very humiliating and embarrassing.
Next, what she was willing to do to clear her name. Also, he appeared to be a successful attorney.
Are you a good lawyer?
I was an excellent attorney.
Then this lawyer found himself behind bars. What secret was he keeping from his clients? Still ahead.
Warlock is about to meet his match.
I'm Casper.
It's an all-new live-action adventure.
Ghost defending a witch.
Casper Meets Wendy, rated PG. Buy it for your family today.
I switched.
To Northland. Ocean Spray Cranberry Cocktail is just 27% juice, but Northland Cranberry Juice blends are 100% juice, naturally sweetened with apple and grape juice. Northland, always 100% juice.
Coming up, the secret life of Andy Kaufman, plus liposuction for skinny people, and a medal-winning athlete who's blind and deaf. It was a school scandal that shocked the people of a small Georgia town. A teacher charged with having sex with one of her students. The verdict is in, and now the teacher and her teenaged accuser are talking about the outcome and the crucial piece of evidence that turned the case around. David Jackson reports.
It was a dream. Having sex with a teacher, just something you couldn't believe.
They were incredible claims from a student about his physiology teacher.
She had told me that if I had sex with her, she'd give me an A.
Flat out, if you had sex with her, she'll give you an A.
Flat out.
He was 16, she was 41. Glenn Brown's story gave birth to one of the South's biggest sex scandals.
Well, the first time we had sex, it was different in the fact that it was great, but in the same time, I had a bad feeling in the back of my mind. Even afterwards, I washed the sheets, I took a shower, I did everything because I guess I felt dirty since I knew what it was.
And teacher Doris Walker says she knew what it was, a bold-faced lie.
Maybe this was a way to try to help put maybe the problems off on somebody else and make somebody else look bad.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Doris P. Walker, not guilty.
A week and a half after a Riverdale, Georgia jury acquitted Doris of sexual assault charges, she and Glenn continue to stand by their stories. In November 1996, Glenn, an athlete with average grades, stayed after class to make up a test. He missed the school bus, so Doris offered him a ride home. But Glenn tells me that while in the car, Doris made him another offer.
She said she had something different in mind for me.
Did you have any idea what she meant?
Well, a little bit. I guess maybe I hoped a little bit at the time that it had something to do with us sexually.
Yeah.
But I didn't know.
But Glenn says he soon found out. He claims they had sex 4 or 5 more times.
What did you think, Glenn, when she said to you, you could have sex with her for a better grade in that class?
It wasn't a thing where I wasn't willing, because both parties, I feel that were willing.
Then he says she reneged on her original offer.
So what did she ultimately do with your grade?
She gave me the grade that I deserved.
Which was?
23.
Is that good, bad?
That's enough.
So last year, Brown's mother complained to the principal, and Doris was quickly suspended.
I was shocked, and then after that, I thought, well, this has just got to be some kind of a joke.
But it was no joke. Doris was charged with sexual assault and was facing 3 years in prison. Then she says she remembered Glenn had said something that proved he was lying.
The boy had testified in front of a grand jury that my breasts were very smooth, and he also testified that there were no scars on my breast, where in fact I had had a lumpectomy in each breast.
So Doris made the ultimate decision to take the stand in her own defense and tell jurors her secret.
If one were to look at your breast right now, would they see the scar?
Yes.
They're that obvious.
Yes.
Then Doris took her testimony one step further. She showed extra how in the privacy of the jury room she lifted a blue rain poncho and bared her breasts to the jury, exposing her surgical scars.
It was a hard decision because I knew it would be very humiliating and embarrassing, but then again I thought, well, if this will help to clear my name, I will do it.
It did just that. The jury believed her. So the question has to be asked, if Glenn was intimate with Doris, why didn't he see the scars?
How did it happen that you never saw that or never knew that?
It couldn't have been that big for me not to see it, but I wasn't really looking for a scar.
Now branded a liar, Glenn Brown is looking to get his life back together. He'll graduate next spring from another high school. And as for Doris, she's got her old job back, but she still wears the emotional scars of being wrongly accused.
I think I'm going to heal slowly, but I think anytime I look back on this and think about it, it'll just, give me that shudder feeling, and I think I'll always think about it from time to time.
Walker says she's considering filing a civil suit against Brown to help pay her mounting legal bills.
Because you cannot knock me out.
He made us laugh as Latka, but Andy Kaufman's final joke wasn't funny.
He had talked about faking his death, and 4 months later, he was dead.
Coming up next, remembering the professional prankster. Was it all an act, or was Kaufman really that strange? She's hardly out of shape, but after 3 kids, this woman is dissatisfied with her figure.
I mean, I exercise, I do everything possible to lose. It's just so hard to lose it.
But is this the answer? Coming up, it's liposuction for skinny people. See the before and after. Plus, sexy Stephanie Seymour on what she considers her best trait.
I think it's very human.
I'm beautiful when I sing her little song. And she dances.
Ryder's jeans are made to fit beautiful women.
I'm beautiful when I am in the garden and my hands are in the dirt and he looks at me.
Ryder's jeans are made to fit beautiful women.
Hey there, this is your Colonel talking. Now I got something here that's downright fun. My new popcorn chicken. Crunchy morsels of tender white meat. It's mouth-popping good. Ooh, look at them go. Hurry down to KFC, try my new popcorn chicken for $1.99. It's more fun than watching me, unless of course Colonel get funky. Go Colonel, go Colonel. At KFC, we do chicken right, and not just in a bucket neither.
As a fruit, this is what you live for.
Ocean Spray fruit auditions. Take 1.
How are you, partner? So you're from Georgia?
That's right, y'all.
I wish I came from the town of Cotton. Your driver's license says you're from Queens. Sure, there's rejection. We're looking for Georgia peaches.
Give me a break, will you?
Introducing new Ocean Spray Wellfleet Farms 100% juice blends. We only pick the best fruit.
There's a lot of tears.
I'm a Georgia peach.
But you can't make a great juice without shedding a few tears.
Where you from, pal?
Security? New 100% juice blends from Ocean Spray. We only pick the best fruit.
14 years after his death, Andy Kaufman remains as mysterious a character as he was in life. Now, with Jim Carrey starring in a movie about Kaufman, there's renewed interest in the quirky comic. But who was the man behind the strange voices, and what motivated his unusual antics? Phil Schuman sat down with a guy who should know.
Whether playing bongos and chanting gibberish on The Tonight Show, whether playing the simple but endearing Latka on Taxi,
Because you cannot knock me out.
or just confusing audiences from the nightclub stage in his bathrobe, Andy Kaufman made a career out of being, well, strange.
Come to be on your show again.
And today, people still wonder, was it all an act, or was he really that bizarre?
Everything was planned by Andy. Andy's such a stickler for detail. Yeah, everything's planned.
Bob Zamuda has all the answers. He now runs the annual show called Comic Relief, but he used to be Andy Kaufman's writer and best friend. He says all Kaufman's outrageous behavior was planned and designed to do one thing, provoke the audience. Like this Saturday Night Live skit, Kaufman in a favorite routine, taunting and then wrestling women.
He'd go out there and say, you get back in that kitchen and you scrub the pots and pans. I am the man.
But people would buy into it.
Totally buy into it. Some people would be so stupid to think he really means this. Well, he's not doing it because he really means it. He's doing it to get you to get mad at him.
Like the time pro wrestler Jerry Lawler got so mad at Kaufman he body slammed him into the mat, injured his spine. The taunting was part of Kaufman's plan. The injury was not.
So he was really hurt.
Yeah, oh yeah, he was hurt.
No, but
he was
does that
spent time in the
contradict
hospital.
what you were just saying about how everything was planned in advance?
Well, you could plan
You
things.
just didn't know how
listen,
far it was going to go.
It's like you could plan things as much as you can, but if you don't let the other actor in on it, the other performer, then you better watch out what's going to come your way.
Jim Carrey apparently learned that lesson the hard way. He got so into his Kaufman role, the very same neck injury happened to him. That's why you see Carrey here on the film set, with the Kaufman-like hairdo and the Kaufman-like neck brace. It seems during recreation of this scene where Kaufman was hurt by Jerry Lawler, Jim Carrey was hurt as well.
Nobody believes that anymore.
And Bob Zmuda, who's co-producing the Kaufman film, still enjoys watching tapes of the old days, especially the times Zmuda himself was an audience plant heckling Kaufman.
No, there's no problem. The only problem is that I'm doing your act for you.
And he remembers it was because Kaufman was such a prankster that when he was diagnosed with a rare form of lung cancer at the age of 35, even close friends Kaufman confided in wondered, real or fake?
Nobody believed him because he had talked about faking his death. And 4 months later, he was dead. You know, this stuff was fast. It was in the lungs and just boom.
Even then, people waited for the joke, for the reappearance. Of course, it never happened. Now, 14 years later, Kaufman will be reborn on the big screen and will no doubt gain a whole new generation of fans.
Zmuda claims Kaufman actually hated doing the show Taxi, but took the job because he knew it would give him great exposure. By the way, Jim Carrey has another connection to Kaufman. The two comics share the same birthday.
It was a shocking sight, a starving baby kidnapped from the hospital by his own parents. Now, a relative speaks out about the FBI's most wanted family.
He's hiding, he's scared.
Still to come, how baby David is doing and why his father refuses to bring him home. He swims and bikes. Not bad for a guy who can't see or hear a thing.
A lot of people, they let whatever disability they have define who they are, and I refuse to do that.
A remarkable story of accomplishment against all odds when Extra continues.
He dreamed of being the next Johnny Cochran, but this legal eagle was up to something illegal.
I knew at some point in time that I would be discovered.
Mitchell says it was his quest for justice that...
Les Trent with a lawyer's secrets and lies. Plus, she's a vision in lacy lingerie. But even Stephanie Seymour had to start somewhere.
I am Stephanie Seymour.
Stephanie and another soon-to-be famous unknown straight ahead.
This is the weekend edition of Extra. Once again, here's Maureen O'Boyle.
Welcome back. We continue with a bizarre kidnapping case that has shattered a family and baffled the FBI. At the center of it all, a 21-month-old baby named David who was allegedly abducted by his own parents. Now the baby's uncle is coming forward to defend the fugitive family. Suzanne Rico has the Extra exclusive.
For 2 weeks, they've been America's most wanted couple running from the law. Accused of starving their infant son on a diet of lettuce and watermelon, then kidnapping him from a Salt Lake City hospital. They are Christopher and Kendra Fink. The FBI says the couple refuses to feed their 21-month-old son David because they believe he is a kind of prophet.
It's not true.
The baby was named after 21-year-old David Fink, who says his brother Christopher has been characterized unfairly.
He felt he had the right to go take his baby back.
Fink is a professed Nazi, serving a prison sentence for auto theft. He says he secretly hacked through the prison phone system to call Christopher late last week. He wouldn't say where the fugitives were, but he insists someone else is to blame for little David's condition.
The Bennett stole his baby from him. He was just getting his baby back.
Michelle Bennett, Kendra Fink's sister. She took this home video of young David just days before taking him to the hospital. Michelle says she tried to save David's life herself.
He was way too thin, he was way too small.
Last week, Michelle told us David was already horribly malnourished when a member of the Helping Hands organization brought him to her.
He felt so frail. I mean, when I held him, he felt like I was just holding a skeleton.
The infant weighed just 16 pounds, a pound less than the average 6-month-old baby. Michelle says the scene was almost too much to bear.
He was begging for food from me, and I couldn't give it to him because, you know, they were telling me this could kill him.
The thing about the watermelon and the lettuce, and the thing about him being the Christ child and him being a prophet, that was all fabricated by the Bennetts. None of that is true.
David Fink insists the Bennetts are lying. He says Christopher is a strict vegetarian, not a bad father.
I talked to my brother on the phone Friday. The baby was fine. The baby was eating a bowl of oatmeal when I was on the phone talking to him. So that's not true.
But there is one point on which David Fink and Michelle Bennett can agree. Christopher Fink has never been the type to give up easily.
He claims himself to be a mountain man. He prides himself in being able to live off the land.
He's just trying to do his own thing out there and live off the land and stuff like that. And he doesn't want involved in society or anybody else, you know.
We tried contacting Michelle Bennett for a comment on David Fink's accusations, but we were unable to reach her. People aren't always what they seem, and our next story is proof of that. It's about a man who was, by all outward appearances, a dedicated and successful attorney, but he was living a lie that would land him in prison. Les Trent explains.
He walks the walk.
We can show that there's no specific intent.
And talks the talk.
The probable cause standard under the preliminary examination stage is veil thin.
Of a legal eagle with intimate knowledge of American jurisprudence. A champion of those underserved by the law, Robert Mitchell models himself after his hero, Johnny Cochran.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Who before OJ fame made a name taking on cases of police abuse. Mitchell, too, has won court battles for clients charged with everything from misdemeanors to accessory to armed robbery. And at 6'1", bald with black eye patch and baritone voice, Mitchell strikes a commanding presence.
When I'm in a courtroom, I intimidate. I don't let a judge or a prosecutor or a defense attorney intimidate me.
There's just one small problem. Robert Mitchell isn't certified to practice law, never has been. I'm not talking about a guy who failed the bar exam once or twice. I'm talking about a guy who never, ever attended law school. Mitchell says it was his quest for justice that compelled him to do something he always knew would one day get him into trouble.
I knew at some point in time that I would be discovered and that the consequence may in fact entail prison.
It started innocently. Friends in trouble came to the self-admitted rabble-rouser for advice. He began reading law books, defending people in court on minor charges, then taking on more serious cases, till he finally just opened an office, hung up a sign, and called himself a lawyer.
Were you a good lawyer? I was an excellent attorney.
No formal law education, and Mitchell, an ex-con who had done time for fraud, was winning tough cases in court.
There are nuances to law that go beyond law books. Are you confident that you gave your clients effective counsel?
Without question. I don't leave the courtroom with doubts in my mind. Oh, could I have done this or should I have done that? No, I'm prepared.
But Mitchell found himself back on the other side of the bars when a client complained about his representation. Mitchell, the phony lawyer, was arrested.
He always just talked about defending the rights of the people and police brutality and against police misconduct.
Arnie Weiner is a real lawyer who, in consultation with Mitchell, helped arrange a plea deal that got Robert a 3-year jail term in his fake lawyer scam instead of the maximum 20. His take on Mitchell's legal acumen?
His knowledge of law is superb. I've been practicing law for over 25 years. He is just as competent and knowledgeable about the law than any other attorney that I've met.
Well. Hey, how you doing today? I get any calls?
Robert Mitchell is now the legal redress chairman with the NAACP in Battle Creek, Michigan, and hopes to one day earn his law degree. Until then, he's not shy about defending himself.
Traditionally, I should have gone to law school, I should have taken the bar, but through my experience, I firmly believe I'm an attorney without a license.
Mitchell won't be able to apply to law school until his parole is officially up no earlier than April 1999. A lot of people want the perfect body, but for some it's simply out of reach. Now, however, there could be an answer, and there's no diet or exercise required. Gina Silva explains in this extra special report.
A perfectly shaped derriere, a flat stomach, an itsy-bitsy waist, and lean, curvy legs. What would you like to change about your body?
Probably my tummy. I would start with right here, and then I think I'd just lift the bum, take a little out of the inside of the thighs.
My butt. Have a bubble butt. Some women are not satisfied with anything short of perfection. Now they can perhaps achieve their goal with a new type of liposuction called precision liposculpture.
I have difficult areas that I cannot lose. I mean, I exercise, I do everything possible to lose. It's just so hard to lose it.
After 3 children, Adriana Garcia developed bulges in her back and legs that made her feel self-conscious, though she's far from fat.
Even a personal trainer will tell you that there's a point where the shape of the body will not change.
World-renowned Brazilian plastic surgeon Dr. Luis Toledo developed the technique for women like Adriana. Women in his native Brazil are known for their hot bodies and curvy shape, but aren't willing to spend the hours in the gym.
If you have like square hips, and you need some contouring, you need some sculpting of that area, and this is what we do.
That's just what Adriana wanted, so she went to see Dr. Toledo.
We're going to remove this excess fat from the back here, make it a tinier waist.
Instead of the large vacuum tubes used in liposuction, liposculpture uses syringes to remove fat more precisely. But the benefits don't end there. The wizards of the operating room can transfer the removed fat to other parts of the body. Dr. Richard Ellenbogen works with Dr. Toledo in the U.S.
For the American patient who wants puffier lips, bigger cheekbones, this fat can also be injected in the face, in the lips, in the cheekbones, in the folds at the corner of the mouth.
Remember what Adriana's legs looked like before? Compare them to her after photo on the right. Notice her slimmer waist, rounder hips, and smaller saddlebags. Check out this angle. You can definitely notice her tinier waist and thighs. Here are Adriana's cheekbones and lips before, then after fat was re-injected into her cheeks and lips.
It's definitely much better. I can wear the tight clothes. I think I look sexy. Well, I've been told I look sexy, and I just feel really good about myself.
Obviously, that's an extreme way to achieve a better body, and it is not cheap. A typical liposculpture costs between $4,500 and $9,000.
Still ahead, he's blind and deaf, and look what he's doing.
Helps me stay motivated and gives me goals to work towards.
Wrestling, swimming, running, and biking. Suzanne Rico with a remarkable athlete and the dedicated friend who is his eyes and ears.
This is for anyone who looks at things
differently.
This is for the green light.
It's no surprise they cook up a really delicious dinner. The surprise is, voila, so can you. With new chicken, voila. It's all. Voila. You've never cooked a meal this good, this fast. It's new. It's chicken voila in the Bird's Eye section.
Imagine what life would be like if you were blind and deaf. For a lot of people, the idea conjures up an image of isolation, a very challenging existence. Well, we found an amazing athlete who is proving you don't need eyes or ears to enjoy life or to see victory. Suzanne Rico has his inspirational story.
He swims. He bikes. But when 25-year-old Casey Cook stops for a break in the scenic Colorado countryside, this is what he sees. And when children play nearby, this is what he hears.
I'm not just a deaf-blind person. I'm a person who is deaf-blind.
Casey was born with Vogt-Koyanagi-Harada syndrome, an extremely rare autoimmune disease that can destroy vision and hearing. At age 9, Casey's world went dark. At 16, it went silent.
When I lost my hearing, that was much more traumatic because I was older.
But remarkably, that hasn't stopped him from his passion, competing in sports, winning medals, and training for world championship races.
Being involved in sports has really opened a lot of doors for me. It helps me stay motivated and gives me goals to work towards.
7 years ago, Casey achieved something he never expected. He got his hearing back thanks to a miracle of modern medicine. Behind his right ear is a cochlear implant consisting of a magnet and a set of electrodes which act like a microphone.
When I talk into here, it goes to this receiver and you can hear it.
I'm totally deaf without it.
Completely deaf.
Yeah.
He might be able to hear now, but as a teenager in high school, he couldn't, and the struggle to adapt was tough.
16 is such a difficult age anyway. How did you communicate with your peers? How did you adjust?
Well, it was challenging because I had to learn a whole new way of getting it done. And so I kind of had to pick up sign language pretty quickly. And it was a bit of a challenge for some of my friends and stuff. Some of them weren't quite up to it. And so I kind of lost some friends along the way.
Do you ever, or did you ever, just kind of say, you know, this isn't fair, why me?
Oh yeah, I asked that question at least once a week.
Many people with severe disabilities choose to simply give up on life, but not Casey Cook. Instead, he turned to education and athletics. Let's go for a run, Casey. Ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Casey was 12 years old when he chose running as a hobby, but it wasn't until he went to high school that Casey became a serious athlete, competing in wrestling and swimming, winning numerous medals.
I really worked hard at sports, and I just kind of buried myself in activity. It seems like a lot of people, they let whatever disability they have or whatever unfortunate circumstances define who they are, and I refuse to do that.
But when he's riding, Casey still needs someone to be his eyes. And thanks to his friend Jim Carruthers, he has them. With Jim's help, Casey recently logged more than 300 miles a week, training for the World Cycling Championships for the disabled.
So you really have to trust him. I mean, you're putting your life in his hands.
Yeah, I guess if you want to put it that way. But he's also putting his life in my hands because, you know, I'm big and strong enough that I can make the bike go off to the side and we'll both get hit by a truck.
We've crashed a couple times, and I'm sure we're going to crash again. But by the time the World Championships come around, we should have it dialed.
But for Casey, it's not about winning or losing. It's the discipline and demands of sporting competition that bring meaning to his life.
You know, sometimes I think, well, if I didn't have these challenges, you know, I'd just kind of be this ordinary guy running around living this aimless life.
Incredible man. 2 weeks ago, Casey and Jim completed the World Cycling Championship for the disabled, and they placed 21st. By the way, fewer than 10 other people in the U.S. have Vogt-Koyanagi-Harada syndrome.
Up next, she's the shapely model from Victoria's Secret. But when the lights go down, a more important job awaits Stephanie Seymour.
People are probably relieved when they find out I have 3 kids. Because I think that's probably one of the nicest things about me.
Straight ahead. And next week on Extra, she was a top fashion model who traded the catwalk for a bird's eye view of organized crime.
And I had a brother-in-law that killed his whole family.
Married to the mob. Next week on Extra.
What'll it be?
We'll take 3, 2, 1 to save.
Extra Online brings you the latest news, fashion, health and beauty, medical breakthroughs, extraordinary people, and pop culture. Visit us on America Online and the web.
Naomi Campbell, Frederique Vanderwall, and Tyra Banks. They're the beautiful women who have brought the famous Victoria's Secret catalog to life. Over the years, the lingerie maker has seen many pretty faces come and go, but one woman has outlasted all of them. Scott Rappaport has more on the lady who knows the secret to staying on top.
Long, silky hair, blue-green bedroom eyes, and curves, curves, curves. Those traits make Stephanie Seymour one of Victoria's Secret's most recognizable models. Whether modeling evening gowns, futuristic fantasy wear, or offering opinions on the Clinton scandal, Stephanie always looks fabulous.
I think he's a great president, and I just think it's a shame. It's just a shame that it's gone this far.
Stephanie's come a long way since being discovered in 1985.
My name is Stephanie Seymour, and I come from San Diego, California.
Surrounded by a crowd of gorgeous girls, including a still unknown Cindy Crawford, Stephanie made it to the finals, but didn't win. But that didn't stop her from shooting straight to the top as Victoria's best-kept secret. Since then, she's appeared on the cover of nearly every major fashion magazine. 30 now and a seasoned star, the accomplishment Seymour's most proud of is at home. The supermodel is also a super mom to 3 sons.
People are probably relieved when they find out I have 3 kids. I think that's probably one of the nicest things about me.
Seymour lives in Connecticut with her sons and millionaire husband Peter Brand. She says it's her boys that keep her grounded.
There's no, wow, good job, Mom, or any of that. They just, they're kids.
But apparently her bosses at Victoria's Secret are wowed by the job she's doing. They've chosen Seymour to front their new line of hosiery called Pulse Points. It's a stocking that not only looks great, but is said to relieve fatigued legs.
They have pulse points in specific areas on your legs where the weave is a special weave, a bit tighter, a specific weave to invigorate the blood flow, the circulation in your legs.
And from the turnout at the line's New York premiere, it seems wherever Stephanie signs her name, the customers will come.
Stephanie is also working on a beauty tips book. It's expected in stores next month. And we'll be back in just a minute.
The Amazon is the largest.
My hair won't dry out. Just look, rich color, golden color, bright and brand new color, color that won't fade out or dry out. You too can have this color, but only if you live by one simple code. I'm worth it. Fade-resistant preference by L'Oreal.
Now, only on video. Get ready for a screaming good time.
Maybe he's sick. He looked a little flushed.
It's Casper and Wendy the Witch in an all-new live-action adventure.
Sweet!
Casper meets Wendy. Rated PG. Buy it for your family today.
We switched. We switched.
Ocean Spray Cranberry Cocktail is just 27% juice, but Northland Cranberry Juice blends are 100% juice, naturally sweetened with apple and grape juice. Northland, always 100% juice.
That's all the time we have for this weekend. Thanks so much for joining us. We leave you with more of Stephanie Seymour at work. Hope to see you back here for the next Extra.